Hello again, this is Mark Summers from Summers Technical Services. We're going to do a Mastercam, create some tool paths today on our Assignment 5 part model. So you'll remember we've got the part model. I've got 3 posts and a hole, and I've got the center feature. Some of you have the center hole in the middle, some of you don't. And you've got 3 holes and a post made up with my part. So you've already finished the part model. Now you're going to use the part model, 3D part model, to create some tool paths. You can make the part out of a 2x2x2 block, this wrench-shaped material, down on the Tormach for your first, I call it the real part you're going to make this semester. So let's see if we can get started here. So first thing I want to do is set my machine. So I'm going to go to machine. I'm going to use the pull down for the mill. If I hit manage lists, especially if you're working at home, you're going to want to bring in these mill machines from the CNC machines folder. This is where it lives on my computer. It's a similar folder on the computers in the labs. And you'll want to find this folder on the computers up here on campus. Capture these files, copy them, paste them, take them home, put them on your similar file location, similar folder, so you can choose these things. So I'm going to choose here, it's already chosen over here. So you can add and remove these. This takes it from the list here over here. So I want to remove that. Now they're all over here. I want to grab the Tormach in our case, add that over here, and say OK. And then I'll need to come over here. Now it's on my list here, so I want to choose that one. Now I've got my Tormach machine set up. So I want to go ahead and save this thing. I want to try to remember to save often. Save as, and I'll go browse to my folder and get a pop-up here. Documents, Texas State, 16. Assignment 5, I'm putting all this stuff in the YouTube folder. So the file name for me is TSU-091-00-05_BOT for bottom. So I'll save my Mastercam file. Alright, now we got the machine set. I want to pull in my CAD data. So I want to say File, Merge. It'll merge in the CAD data with into Mastercam, and that way I'll be using the geometry that I've already verified in my part model. I'm going to switch the filter to all files. There's my SolidWorks part, so I believe it should pull that in just fine. And there it is. Well, depending on how you built your model, and it also seems as if SolidWorks uses a different XYZ relating to the front, top, side planes than SolidWorks does. So I want to right-click and get an isometric view. And I can see it's not oriented correctly. I need to rotate it. I need to look in from this right side over here. I need to rotate it about the axis coming straight out at me. So I'm going to right-click, and I want to look at the right view. So now I want to rotate about the origin 90 degrees in the positive direction. So I'm going to go to Transform, Rotate, select Entities. I want to grab everything in Selection. I want to make sure it's on Move and not Copy. And I believe I can rotate this thing 90 degrees. I don't quite know why it's looking so funny. If I type in 90 over here, whoop, let me get out of here. I don't know if that's right or not. Let me exit this. Let's try that again. Right view. I'm going to rotate. I'm going to grab everything in Selection. I don't know why it jumps over like, oh, I've already got the 90 written over here. So if I go back to 0 Now it's where I started. I had 90 in here from a previous thing. So I can drag this around, go up here, and again, make sure that it's on move instead of copy. I don't want multiple copies. Now it's on 0. Now it looks oriented correctly. I'll approve that, and I'll double check, right click, right view, or no, right click isometric view. And now it's looking like my real part here. So I think I've got it oriented correctly on my part, or in Mastercam. Okay, so I've got this 3D geometry, but I want to use that 3D geometry to create 2D geometry to make my tool paths. And so the way I want to do that is go to wireframe, and there's a command over here. It says curve all edges. And so I'm going to select curve all edges, and I'm going to do what it says. I'm going to select this face. That'll get me all those edges that are on that face. I want to click on this guy, and this guy, this guy, and this guy, and on the inside of that guy. Some of y'all have that, some of you don't. So now everywhere I've got an edge on those faces, it's going to create wireframe geometry. So when I say in selection, OK, I've got circle here, I've got a circle here, I've got circles at all these intersection points. So this is what I would have had to do if I would have drawn this from scratch, but I'm using my CAD model because I spent a lot of time making sure those hole diameters were the correct side with the gaps. I made sure the depths are all correct based on the gap, and I made sure those posts were the correct size based on the gap. And mine are all 1/4 inch. Yours will be different because you've got different gaps. All right, so now that I've done that, I'm going to go talk about one more thing about planes, and this is confusing to me anyway. If you go to planes, there's a construction plane, and it changes without you necessarily knowing it as you switch to different views. So right now it's set, construction plane is set to the right plane. So if I go back to toolpaths and I just start drawing a circle, you'll notice that it's not drawing it on the top z=0 plane because of that construction plane. So if you're doing geometry and you're getting weird results like this, go to planes and then double click on the row and column. In other words, if I double click there, it's going to push the construction plane to the top view. And now if I draw a circle, go back to toolpaths, if I start trying to draw a circle, it's going to draw it like I would expect there on the top plane because that's the construction plane. Okay, so let's do stock setup. And so I'm going to go ahead again, save this thing off and file save. And now I'm going to go to stock setup. And there it is right there. Whoops, let's ask me for a file name. All right, so I want to go to stock setup, and this looks a little different than it did in the 2023 version, but lots of different options. I want to choose this one here, make a rectangular stock, and it lets me select my geometry, and it creates the stock setup in selection based on my geometry. And so, not surprising, the overall height is 2 inches, overall width and depth is 2 inches. Assumes it starts at the anchor point at the top in the middle. That's where my origin is, so that looks correct. And so when I say OK, I've got my stock showing there. And somewhere in here I can go to view, and that's not it. Toolpath, somewhere I can, there it is, stock display. I can turn that on. So now you see the stock display kind of in phantom there. All right, so again, I'm going to save this thing. Don't want to lose this thing with all this hard work I've been doing. So now I'm going to do, I think I'm ready to start making my toolpaths. So before I do that, I need to offset this top edge here because I want that tool to not just stop at the edge. I want it to go over just a little bit. So I'll make sure I clean all that top surface off. So I want to go back to wireframe. There's offset entity. I've already got the edges on the edges of the part because I did my wireframe, whatever that button was, create edges. Yeah, curve all edges. I'm going to come over here and say offset use the pull down, offset chains, and I'm going to grab one of these edges, and it chains all the way around, which is what I want. I'll say OK, and read what it says. Indicate the offset direction. I want to offset this way, and I've already had a 1/4 inch typed in here, so it looks reasonable, so I'll say OK. All right, now I'm ready to make my first tool path, which is going to be a pocket. And so I'll go back to tool paths. I'm going to use my 2D milling tools here, and I want to make a pocket. And I want to grab this chain out here first when it tells me to. I want to grab that chain there. That goes all the way around. I want to go inside that to pocket, and I don't want to go past that. And so I select that. I don't want to wipe this out. So I'm going to select that and select that and select that. It's all down where I'm cutting to. The hole is going to be just left off, and I'm going to do that with a drill later. So I think I've got my geometry, and I'll say OK. And now it's going to pop me in and start choosing my parameters for my tool paths. I'm going to go to Tool. I'm going to go push this button here to select Tool from Library, and I can use those filters, but I think I know which one I want here. 1/4 inch flat end mill is right here. I'll say OK. And I'm not going to set every single parameter up, but I want to go through the ones I think are most important. So I don't want to make the video too long. We go to cut parameters. We want to make sure you change these stock to leave on walls to 0. This always burns me when I forget to do this. So I want to make those 0 so the cutter goes all the way to where my geometry is. Roughing, I like to use this parallel spiral. You can try these other ones depending on what you're doing. Some of them are more optimum than others. Again, there's a ton of parameters. We'll just leave those as is. Finishing, I'm not going to do lead in and lead out. It creates one for me that I'm probably going to be happy with. Go ahead and turn on depth cuts, and because we want to do multiple passes so that we rough cut, and then the final finish cut is going to be take off the small amount of material to make our part finish really nice. So we'll do that. Here's the linking parameters. These are all need to be absolute. That's what we've been doing so far. My top of stock is going to be 0, and in my case my depth is -1/4. That's how deep my cut goes from the top of stock. And I think maybe that's everything. Depth cuts, cut parameters, linking parameters. All right, maybe that's good enough. I'll say OK. And there you see my depth cuts there. 1, 2, 3 passes to get it down to that 1/4 inch depth in my case. So there's that. Now I'm going to come in. I want to make my pocket on the inside here. And I've got to I want to also use that 1/4 inch flat end mill. So I'm going to make another pocket. And I'm going to select that circle. And that's the right size for the geometry. That's the only geometry I need to select. And we'll pop in here, tool, use that same 1/4 inch flat end mill. And what else I want to do here? Cut parameters. I think it'll remember my zeros there. What else I got here? Depth cuts. Do the same depth cuts I had a minute ago. Linking parameters. That all stays the same because I'm still going down 1/4 inch in my case. You'll be going down different amounts on yours. So I probably forgot something, but we'll say OK. Now I'm going to do, for the hole, I'm going to use a 1/4 inch drill, and then I'm going to come back and clean it up with an 1/8 inch end mill. So you're going to use a 1/4 inch end mill also. Your holes are going to be slightly bigger than 1/4 to accommodate the gap. But I'm going to show you what I would do here. So actually I probably want to use a slightly smaller drill than a 1/4 inch, so that when I clean it up with that flat end mill, it'll make a nice, it'll take off that last bit of material. But I'll go ahead and use a 1/4" end mill. So I want, or a 1/4" drill, excuse me. So I'm going to go to the pocket. Oh, not the pocket, the drill. There's a drill command. And I need to go choose a tool. Well, first of all, I got to grab a circle. And so, or define a center point by grabbing a circle. So there's a nice circle handy. And I'll say, okay. So now it knows where to drill the hole. Now I'll go choose the tool. And I'll come down here and go pick the right size tool, which is on the list here somewhere. Again, you want to probably use those filters. There's a 1/4" drill. And I'm going to go to cut parameters. I'm going to use a peck drill. Peck drill allows the drill to go down a little bit, come back up, go down a little bit, come back up to get that material to pull out of the hole. And it gives you a chance to spray some air in there to blow out some of the material that's been taken away. And I'm going to just leave these defaults in there and see what it does. What else do I need? I need linking parameters. Now the hole, when I drill that hole, the top of stock, I need to make all these absolute. This material is going to be gone, so the top of stock is going to be minus 1/4. And I don't want it to pull all the way back up every time it pecks, and so I want to make the retract. I think I want to make that negative 1/4. So it's going to go down until the top of the tool, the top of the drill is right at the top of stock. And then it's going to go down and up, down and up, down and up. And the depth is going to be minus 0.5 because it's a 1/4" down to the top of stock, and I'm going to go another 1/4. So that'd be -5. I think I did that right. And maybe that's good enough. And so now I've got my peck drill. Now I'm going to put in my last feature, which is another pocket. I'm going to clean up this 1/4" hole with an 1/8" end mill to get my nice surface. You'll do the same thing. Again, all yours will be slightly bigger because of your gap. So I'm going to come up here and do one more pocket. Here's the pocket. And I'm going to choose my 1/8" flat end mill. All right, I got to select some geometry here first. Same circle. And it's just defining the center point of that circle is the location for the drill. Location for the end mill, excuse me. So I'm going to go to Tool. I'm going to go to select the tool. Should be around 285 with the 1/4" flat end mill. So if I come down here somewhere, 1/8" flat end mill. Okay. And then go to cut parameters. That's still on 0 down here. That's good. Depth cuts should still be on. I'll leave that like it is. Linking parameters. This needs to be all absolute. Top of stock is going to be 0, and then this is going to be actually no, the top of stock is going to be negative 1/4. That way it goes down from z equals 0 before it starts milling. It'll go down to this surface, and then the total depth is going to be negative 1/2. And if I did all this stuff correctly, I should have my tool pass. I'm going to go File, Save. And we'll see what this thing looks like when I do the simulation. We'll grab all the tool paths, select all operations. There's a simulator. We can do this back plot as well. So here we are starting off. I'll stop it at operation change, and I'll stop it at tool changes so I can see what happens in between each tool. Turn it on pretty slow. Here's the first one. So it's going down there, going around, and as you get more used to these different parameters, you might want to play around with some of those parameters and see if you get more optimum material removal. And but this seems to be doing a pretty good job. It's going, hopefully it'll go pick up all that stuff around the perimeter of the part with that offset. So there it goes, there it got the outside. Now it's going to go down for another depth cut. So I think it's 1/10 of an inch depth cut, and then the last one was 50 thousandths, if I remember right. So that seems like reasonable so far, and it should be getting close to doing the final finishing pass once it cleans up that stuff. Probably should speed it up a little bit, but we're almost done now. There we go. Now it's doing, I guess that's the last depth cut. And we'll see if it cleans up nicely. So far, so good. There's the finishing cut, and it looks reasonable. We'll play it some more and do that middle piece. Goes down, does that pretty quickly. Now it's going to do the drill. Goes down and does the drill. Now it's ready for the 1/8 inch end mill. I'll go play that. So probably lots of, not probably, there are lots of ways to optimize this thing, but it looks like it's going to make my part pretty close. We'll check with the Makerspace folks and find out what kind of feeds and speeds we want to use for this material, and you can adjust those parameters accordingly inside Mastercam. So last thing I'm going to do is file save, and then I'm going to push out my G-code, give it the same file name as the others. There's my G-code button, and we'll save it. Not quite sure what it's telling me here. NC file, valid file name. Not sure where it's giving me the file name. I'll have to look into that. Oh, I've got the I've got the educational version, so I can't do that here on my personal computer, but you'll do that on the lab computers that have the full educational version that lets you push out G-code. And then we'll take that over to down to the Makerspace and make your part. So that's all I've got for now. Hopefully that was helpful. So I'm in the process of grading the CAD models, and so you'll get feedback from me on those, and then you use that CAD model to make your tool pass like I showed here. And so there you go. Hopefully this was helpful, and make sure to subscribe to the channel so you can get notified when new videos post later this semester. So until then, have a good day.